He is the Husker sports and news reporter for News Channel Nebraska and the sports director at KWBE in Beatrice and an esteemed alum of the University of Nebraska School of College of Journalism and Mass Communications. Jake Bartecki, sir, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great to talk to you, John. It's been a while. It's good to be
Yeah.
on the show. I've listened to it a lot.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and drop a couple of coins in the dish on the way out. As we record this early in the week, this is girls' state basketball week, and it'll be followed by boys' state basketball week. And so we want to talk a little bit about that and some other things going on, like Husker football, spring football, because that's what most people think is the only sport in Nebraska. And so let's talk a little bit about what you're doing this week regarding basketball, because you have a lot of duties, do you not, for girls state basketball coming up here?
Gosh, it's a busy week. It's a really busy week for everybody in our company. For people who don't know how News Channel Nebraska kind of operates with the state tournament, we do each of the quarterfinal days and the semifinal days. So, Wednesday and Thursday, we're at the Doane Center doing those games. And then Friday, we shift to Pinnacle Bank Arena for the semifinal games. And then we have several reporters stick around on Saturday to shoot highlights for games. I mean, it's a hectic week for everybody in our company, from our producers and our live truck people that are probably there already today, Monday, testing things and setting things up, to our live events director, Brandon Axelman, who's, keeping the trains running, and then he'll call games on Friday, to everybody that's, on the cameras, calling the games, doing color. And on top of that, you've got people like myself who, we're not even done with boys, postseason basketball in terms of districts. Tonight's Monday night. I'm calling a district final game in Adams, and then I'll shift all of my attention over to the state tournament, and I'll have a game on radio. I'll have several games on TV. I'll have several games on sidelines. So there's people that are just go all week long. And it's broadcasters, it's producers, it's directors. It's a hectic week, but a week that I know people at NCN take a lot of pride in, because people around the state are tuning in to watch these games and listen to these games.
The good news for you all that somebody worked this out is that while Nebraska Public Media grabs all the finals games and does all of them on Saturdays, you guys have worked out a deal to get the other action before then. And that's a relatively new development, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing it since I got here. I think my first state tournament was 2022, and we've had them years before that as well. And I know we were, during COVID, one of the only places that was able to get games on the air at News Channel Nebraska. I remember that when I was in college, when the pandemic hit. And I know that was kind of a big leapfrog to where we kind of are now with how we do the state tournament. And I know Brandon Axelman would echo this and say, I think it helped put us on the map. And again, that was before I got here. But yeah, to be able to do games for places like, I'm just pulling a name out of the hat here, but Alliance or Scotts Bluff or Sydney, and these places that are on the complete opposite end of the state, right? I mean, they deal with that every single year when it comes to sports, when they have to come to Omaha, or they have to come to Lincoln, or they have to even go as far east as, Grand Island or York. That's still a long haul for them. What we do, I think, on radio, TV, web, during this week, it gives them an opportunity to watch the games. And if they can't afford to, or their schedule doesn't allow them to get all the way out to Lincoln, they can still support their community teams.
So, Jake, how can you properly prepare for so many different teams in such a short amount of time doing radio and television?
Well, part of it is, Brandon does a really good job of scheduling the announcer, especially for TV, around teams they might have already seen this season. So I also do a lot of Beatrice's games. And one of the games that I'll be doing is Malcolm's game. Well, I already saw Malcolm earlier this season. Same with Lincoln Christian. I'll be on one of their games. So I've got, I took me a while to realize the value in doing this, but save all your spot charts that you have. Save your spot charts, no matter how long ago, because you never, just if it's 15 minutes of adjusting the color or something like that on your board, just save it, because it saves you that much time. And so luckily, the team that I call games for all season long is playing there will be a couple of teams that they played in the state tournament that I will be able to do games for. So that part of it is helpful. When you don't have that luxury, it's a lot of coffee, it's a lot of Red Bull, and it's, some late nights and some early mornings, because I'm somebody that, even if I don't use all my notes, and you taught me this in college, if you're using all of your stuff you brought, you're unprepared. So just for me, I have to be prepared. I have to make it work. If that means staying up till midnight or 1 a.m, working on a spot chart, if that means getting in early or getting up early and typing up certain emails to coaches, that's what I'm going to do. It's a stressful week, but we've all made it work, and it helps at the state tournament. One of the luxuries we've gotten in recent years that we don't get regularly for small college game. Well, some small college games they do, but high school definitely not. We have stat broadcast available at PBA and Doane, and that's obviously a big credit to the Nebraska athletic staff that is able to make that happen, because that definitely takes the load off of things, because then you can kind of tell the story with the stats when you don't keep rebounds or you don't keep field goal percentage during a small college game or a high school game in December. Well, you have that luxury here, and that's an adjustment as well, but it's an adjustment we're happy to make for sure.
So you don't have any of your, hate to ask this question, I should know, any of your Beatrice teams, either of your Beatrice teams that you have heading to the state tournament?
The girls did make it. And I'll have them on radio. They played Pius on Thursday night. Kind of a crazy story how they made it. They played Scott Catholic in the district finals, and they played the same starting five the entire way. Girl by the name of Callie Schwiezo scored 34.
Every minute, 5 players. Wow.
Yeah. All 32 minutes of regulation plus 4 minutes of overtime. It was something I've never seen before. And this one girl, Callie Schwiezo's her name, had 34 of their 38 points. And she told me before the game her goal was 33. And she hit that with flying colors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you want to talk about like a story that I will be doing on the TV sports side before Thursday night? Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. High school basketball, things happen. You don't have depth, but to not have that kind of depth in Class B and win a game, you just don't see that. It doesn't happen.
So I need to hear that name again. What's the name?
Schwiezo, Callie Schwiezo.
Kelly Schwiezo scores 34 of the team's 38 points. Yeah. And having had 2 children who played sports in high school, I know what parents think about somebody being the person who does everything. How did they react to this? And she must have taken most of the shots too.
Yeah, it was, she obviously went to her family right away after the game, and hugs and kisses and well wishes. Talk about doing it all. That wasn't necessarily the case for her early on in the season. Beatrice had a girl by the name of Kylie Hackliff, whose 2 sisters were studs at Beatrice. And one of them, Mac Hackliff, went to Doane and was the GPAC player of the year, I think a couple of years, and took over the GPAC scoring record. Well, Kylie, by the age of, she's no older than 16, had her 3rd really severe knee injury in January. And that took her took her out for the season. And then Callie's role kind of evolved, and it led to, 3 straight games of almost 30 or more, in one of them the biggest game of the season. It was awesome. The people reacted as they should, because you just don't see that.
You are from Chicago, and you went to school here in Lincoln at the University of Nebraska, and now you work at what would be considered by any standards in America in a small town. Maybe not Nebraska, but in a small town. What has that been like? The relationship you have with the audience, with the students, with the parents, with the coaches?
It's been good. I like to think of it as I'm just pretty personable, and I'm not afraid to introduce myself and get to know the coaches, the players, the parents. And I think the way of doing it was just doing things around town. I'm a big golfer, so Beatrice has 2 really great golf courses, including Beatrice Country Club, which is one of the best courses in the state. And between playing there a lot and the other golf course here, I got to know a lot of people. I joined the Eagles Club and stuff like that. So I got to just be in the community and know people. And now I've got friends here, and I think getting to know more people and going out on the town in Beatrice some nights, going out to dinner in Beatrice some nights, people just recognize you, and it's been great. I mean, that has not been a problem for me at all. I've had no problem making friends here in my years.
What was that like when you realized, and there's only one way to learn that, and that is to see it firsthand, when you go to the grocery store or you bump into somebody at the country club or you go out to dinner and they say, "Hey, Jake, you're the man." What was your first reaction to that?
It didn't happen that much until recently. And the reason for that is, I mean, you said it at the intro, I do a lot of Husker sports reporting, and I started getting on TikTok, and I heard TikTok was the best way to get people to recognize you, and I started using it, and I just started yapping about Husker sports. If there was an update, I'd whip out my phone and just start talking, and posting some play-by-play clips, right? Just having my phone propped up and match the audio up with the video and post those out there. Obviously, the kids loved that. The kids' parents loved that. It made them ask for copies of games, and outside of Beatrice, with anywhere really. I mean, people are going to watch Husker content on TikTok. And so my first reaction was, I loved it. I loved it. It made me feel like I'm a celebrity, which I don't think I am at all, but it made me feel like I was. So that's awesome. I mean, I love it when people come up and say hello. And I think it's kind of crazy. I think a lot of people on TikTok don't even actually realize what I do. I think there's probably a crowd out there that thinks I'm just a play-by-play announcer. And I think there's a crowd that probably thinks I'm just a Husker sports reporter, and another crowd that probably thinks I'm just an average Joe, like any other Husker fan that jumps on TikTok. But it's fun. I do like that.
KWBE, KWBE is the radio station in Beatrice, others, but it's the sort of station of record, especially when it comes to sports, and has been for a long time. How do the folks feel about that, and what kind of reaction do you get from just that radio work for Beatrice High School?
Yeah, people listen. I'll say that much. I think there's a lot of places where, radio stations just don't get the listens because they're kind of outdone by Strive programs at schools or schools' YouTube channels. But I hear that people listen all the time. And I think a lot of that goes beyond the sports. What Doug Kennedy, who's now, retired and kind of does some stuff for us part-time still, what he and Dave Needfelt have been able to make out of KWBE is awesome. They've both been here or were here for over 30 or 40 years. And you just don't see that necessarily in media, especially in today's day and age. I mean, it's very, very common for 2 to 3 year contracts in radio and TV, and you're on and out to your next market. That wasn't the case for those guys. And those guys are out in the community a lot. And I think it just reinforces that we're here and reinforces that KWBE cares about the community. And I think Doug Kennedy going to every city council meeting that he can get to, and every car crash or fire for all those 40 plus years that he was here, helped us immensely because people knew where they could find information for news. And then once people would see that we were doing sports and knew that we were doing sports, they knew that if there was a Beatrice game on that they wanted to hear, they're going to hear it. And I think that, I don't know, I think it's special that the community cares so much about KWB. I mean, it's been around 75 years now, plus.
Yeah. So in 2056, some of those young people you're calling games for now will have had children, and they're listening to you still doing games in Beatrice on KWBE.
We'll see. Never say never. We'll see.
Yeah. What are the odds on that on FanDuel?
I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Good for you. What are your ambitions? What is it that you want to do? I know that, but I want the audience to know that.
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age in the industry, I think everybody's trying to move up at some point. And if that's up in the company here at NCN or up to another market, I think that's still to be determined. I think if you could give me what my dream job would be, if I was a 27-year-old man now, it'd kind of be to work at a network and do play-by-play and travel the country doing games. I think that'd be incredible. Now, I like the reporting side of it too. I mean, I love sitting down with coaches and players, Huskers or high school or other college, I like sitting down and having conversations with them and putting a story together, telling a story, being at a game on the sidelines. I like that side of it too. So, I mean, I have ambitions that are big that I like to chase, but it's not ruling anything out. Everything's on the table for me at this point.
You cover the Huskers, and the Huskers football team is in the midst of its spring football. And what are the big stories there? What are you keeping an eye on with Matt Rule and company?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two big things have been getting to know a lot of these new coaches that they brought in. I mean, Rob Orrick is one, the San Diego State defensive coordinator. I think there was a lot of talk of Brett Maher with the special teams, taking that thing over. And then Jeep Wade, the offensive line coach. I mean, the offensive line and that whole, I'm going to call it dynamic with Dylan Raiola and Donovan Raiola feels like it was 10 years ago now. And I think, there is a mild, I'd say, reduction. And I don't want to say an interest, but maybe in views and that kind of thing and excitement right now for spring football, because look at basketball, right? I mean, as of today, they're ranked 9th in the nation. And I think there's still always going to be an interest in Husker football, but it's just, I've noticed it a little bit this year, just in terms of when I post something on Twitter or Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, how the basketball posts right now are outshining the spring football posts. And I don't think, when I was in college and you were my professor, I think that would have been an anomaly at that point. But right now, it's just kind of funny how the tables have turned in that respect.
It's interesting you say that, because I have felt that as well, and I don't cover it day to day, and I don't pour over this stuff, especially spring football. Frankly, spring football sort of bores me to tears, and has for 40 years, and not just here, but I feel it a little bit. It's like, and that might be a good thing, actually, because I think when football gets ramped up, people are going to look at the schedule again and realize that Matt Rule, fresh off a new contract extension, might be looking at a 5, maybe lucky 6-win season. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got to look at the schedule. I mean, Indiana, Ohio State are both on that schedule, and for what it's worth, I mean, I think that's what a lot of people would have picked the national championship to be. Miami got there, but who were the two best teams in the nation? I think at the end of the season, it's hard to not say it wasn't Ohio State and Indiana. You've got that. You're going on the road to Oregon, Washington, Illinois on the road as well. It's next year's going to tell us a lot. I think it's going to tell us a lot about where the program is at. And I'm with you. I mean, I think even if you still had Dylan Raiola at his peak, you're still not looking at more than 7 wins there. And I think most people would say, what's this going to be, year 4 for Matt Rule now? I think this at this point, 7 wins is underachieving. So we'll see. College football in this day and age, I mean, I want to keep it somewhat positive here, but look at Indiana. Kurt Cignetti, what he did there was incredible. And really, people didn't know about these guys he was bringing in. Is Nebraska going to find that kind of success, that kind of luck, that kind of talent with this roster? Probably not. But I think it just shows anything's possible in college football. And you are absolutely right. No matter what, Husker fans are going to watch. I and the rest of the media will be there. And we will still kill on content because everybody's going to want to know what's going on with Husker football. It's simple as that.
The men's basketball team has never won a game in the NC2A tournament, and I think they've set themselves up now with the way they've played this year, top 10 ranked team, that winning a game in the NC2A tournament may not be good enough. You think? Probably.
I mean, because as of today, what are they going to be, a 3 or a 4 seed? And the path to a 2 seed is still very much there, depending on what happens. And if Nebraska were to go on and win the Big Ten tournament, who knows? Maybe they're in the conversation for that last 1 seed as well. And yeah, if you're a top 3 seed, I think you don't win a tournament game, at least one, it's a major disappointment. I think if you don't get to the Sweet 16, it still is a rather big disappointment. Now, the one thing that concerns me about Nebraska basketball in the tournament is their ability to rebound and their ability to match up with a physical team. Because I think that first game, and I'm just going to throw out a team here. Let's say you play UNC Wilmington or Charleston or Chattanooga, one of those kind of group of 5 schools that had a good season. Maybe they got hot in their conference tournament and it snuck them in. Maybe they won their conference tournament and that's how they got in. You should win that one. But if you take on, a mid-level, what would that be? If you take let's say you play a 6 seed in that second round, if they've got some big guys down low, Nebraska's shown that they have struggles rebounding and matching their physicality. That's the one worried me. Do I think Nebraska can get out of the second round and get into that second weekend? Probably, yeah. But there still is things that I think Nebraska fans are probably going to be a little worried about when it comes to the tournament. I personally think if I had to pick it right now, I think they're a Sweet 16 team at the worst. I think that probably is fair to say. I think most people would agree that this team has the capabilities to get there. Can they go much further? I don't know, because at that point, then you're running into the slog of UConn or Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
You've got so many other Big Ten teams that might run into another Big Ten team that had your number earlier this season, or you beat and now knows how to play you because of the film. So it's going to be fun to follow, though. Nebraska fans should be very excited, and they should enjoy this, every bit of it.
Now, maybe it's my journalism training and the 45 years I've been watching this, but I keep watching them thinking, there's got to be, like you, there's got to be a break here. There's got to be something that gives. And I keep watching them, and they go through a kind of a tough stretch, and then they figure it out, and then they come back a little bit tougher. So I think they're pretty good. I mean, I think that 9th ranking is probably fair, considering that they've beaten Michigan State, they beat Illinois and lost to Illinois. Purdue played really well when they played here. I will say that, and have struggled a bit since. And they played well at Michigan and had a tough stretch at the end. Right. But they've played some really good teams in some stressful situations pretty well. And I think they are tougher than they appear to be sometimes. Right. And they do, I agree, have to kind of bucket up sometimes and push back. And if Sanford's being held outside to keep his 3-point shot, somebody else has got to make him pay for it.
Right. I mean, this is the other thing. Nebraska, they don't have the physicality or the rebounding ability, that some of these other teams do. I mean, just look at that Illinois game. Those guys have the prototypical, down low, big, physical European prototype player that's so valuable.
Because they're European.
Right. Well, there you go. I mean, there's a lot of good European players in the NBA, but I mean, seriously, in this day and age in 2026, those are the kind of guys you want on your roster. And I think Illinois is really good too. I know I do too. Yeah. Stretch, but I think they're really good. But you mentioned Price Sanford hitting threes. Nebraska, if they're not going to be able to out rebound some of those teams that they might run into in the tournament or out physical some of those teams, they've got to be able to hit their threes, because that's what's going to separate them apart, is Price Sanford getting in a rhythm like he did against Illinois on the road, or like Rink Mass did when he hit 5 in the first half against Michigan State. That's what is going to be able to keep Nebraska in those games with those teams that just might out physical them. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, again, we're recording this conversation early in the final regular season week, in which Nebraska plays at UCLA, and then they come home and play Iowa. So
stay up late for that UCLA game, John. 10 o'clock start.
I am, frankly, having lived in the West Coast for so long, I may be the person who consistently watches West Coast sports.
You're acclimated.
Yeah. No, I do. I don't really like the 10 o'clock starts, but if I'm going to watch any teams I'm interested in on the West Coast, then I'm going to have to. Even by any standards, 10 o'clock's a little late. I don't know why they're doing an 8 o'clock Pacific time start for that, but having said that, it's interesting, isn't it? This isn't a switch. It just hit me here that the Big Ten has been a beneficiary of these West Coast teams, because now they can do 3 games on a night. Yeah. They can do an East Coast game, they can do a Central game and a Pacific time game, and do it all in one night in basketball and pull it off. Now they schedule them a little too close, so you miss the beginning of some of those games. But I think they've been a beneficiary of this games in LA, Seattle, and Eugene. I do.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, just look at the ad revenue that you're able to generate with that kind of stuff. I mean, and if you're just a college basketball fan, like I am, if there's a good East, like you could have a perfect night, right? You could have Michigan. I mean, this wasn't what the schedule was at all, but you could have Michigan State at 6. You could have Nebraska versus Iowa at 8, and then you go out west and you could have UCLA, USC at 10. I mean, it just sets up for that kind of perfect way to spend an evening where you just watch college basketball for 5 or 6 hours. I mean, people do that with the NFL and college football all day when, Big Ten Network has 3 games on because they scheduled them at random times, and the NFL's got, you got a London game, you got a noon game, you got a 3 game, you got the noon 3 and Sunday night football. I mean, it's a smart way to do it because it gets people glued to their television set.
All right. As we wrap this thing up here, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what the big NASCAR story is in 2026. Okay, Jake, what is it?
How about Tyler Reddick becoming the first driver ever to win 3 races in a row to start the season? I think that's the biggest story, is it not? And who does he drive for? Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin in 2311, who were in a huge lawsuit with NASCAR this summer. I mean, you want to talk about just sticking it right back to NASCAR. Boy, oh boy.
Why are they in a lawsuit?
The details are tough to follow. It has something to do with the charters, that the way that the teams operate. So it's a lawsuit about, I think, how many cars that a team can have. Don't quote me on that because I haven't followed that side of it as much, because I just like to follow the racing more than I like to get down in the dirty of the politics of everything. But yeah, they got in a nasty lawsuit, and if they didn't win the lawsuit, they're winning on the track and sticking it right back to NASCAR.
Well, I will say that there are very few things, very few people, very few names that can get the kind of attention in American sport that Michael Jordan can get still. Yeah. And if his team is winning NASCAR races, that can be nothing but good, irrespective of lawsuits. Nothing but good for NASCAR.
And it's, I think, great for NASCAR in terms of just getting the sport's name out there a bit, right? I mean, like Sports Center has posted each of the last 3 days. The Daytona 500 is, Tyler Reddick won the Daytona 500, then he won Atlanta, then he won a road course, Circuit of the Americas, which F1 race is at. But posting NASCAR on the Sports Center account for the Daytona 500, that makes sense. But you usually don't see them post much otherwise. They've posted each of the last 2 times, and guess who was right in the middle of the picture was Michael Jordan. So,
of course. Well, he's a North Carolina native. He's got to be a NASCAR guy.
Yeah. With
all that money and a North Carolinian, he's got to be a NASCAR guy.
It's a rite of passage down there, John.
Well, you're a Chicago guy and you like NASCAR, so there you go.
There you go.
You're probably a Bulls fan too.
Yeah, didn't win a game in February.
Well, I mean, a Bulls fan of the Michael Jordan era before you were born. Okay.
Yes. My head, you can tell where my head is at, though, in frustration.
Yeah. Well, Jake, thanks. I appreciate the time. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's good to catch up with you, John. Anytime you need something from me, give me a ring.
Jake Bartecki covers the Huskers, football, basketball, and whatever else, and also the sports director at KWBE Radio in Beatrice, and does a little bit of this and a little bit of that for News Channel Nebraska as well. And you may have watched him. You may see him on the News Channel Nebraska, and he's going to be all over the girls and boys state basketball tournaments here in the next week or so. So thanks, Jake. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, John.
I'm John Shrader, and this is Watch the Media.